The first decision was to go into science and to try to combine that with medicine. I'm an MD and very involved in research, basic research, and it's been a career of combining the two together, going back and forth.
I work with a professor named David Weiss at the University of California at Berkeley to do my PhD thesis.
To become an immunologist, which really wasn't a decision that was left to me. I was a biochemistry major in graduate school, and the person that I thought I was going to work with for my thesis was unfortunately killed in an automobile accident with his family on the way to one of the FASEP meetings in Atlantic City. And I had no lab to go to, and his closest friend was an immunologist who had just opened his lab named Morris Reichland. And Mo came up to me and said, I don't know if you've ever thought of immunology. And of course, at that time, nobody taught immunology to undergrads. And so I really liked what he had to say and ended up going into his lab and really committed myself to immunology throughout the years.
When one of my students isolated the PD-1, almost fortuitous experiments, he tried to identify cell death gene. So original name is program cell death 1. And I found this gene has very interesting unique structure and decided to knock it out.
I found the National Institutes of Health when I first came down here to the NCI early in my, actually in the midst of my training. It became clear that this was an outstanding institution in which not only to do basic scientific research, but apply it to patients in the resources available here at the NCI. And so the day I finished my surgical residency, the next day I was appointed the chief of the surgery branch of the National Cancer Institute. I've been here for the last 46 years.
To continue working in that vein of negative regulatory checkpoints, which brought us to the development of antibodies against PD-1 and PD-L1, which were eventually both tested in clinical trials, and then of course, PD-1 became the Volumab.
They basically came in two kinds, I guess. One was where to work. I started off at a small place called the Science Park by MD Anderson, where the beauty of it was able to work pretty much alone, doing whatever I wanted to. And it was there that I worked out the structure of the T-cell antigen receptor.
To study cancer immunology. I think that's what brought me to the field. I made a decision relatively early, pretty much right after my medical school. In fact, after medical school, people usually you have to get further trainings and in the different specialties. So I was in the oncology, hematology field, but then this is a very broad field. And so the decision was in the early time was to focus on immunology study.
I guess I was always interested in science, and so I think for me part of the decision was when I went to college, would I choose science or would I choose something else? And it was clear from my first days that science was going to be what I wanted to do. And then after my sophomore year, I worked in Jack Strominger's lab, and it was my first experience with doing university level research. And I immediately fell in love with it. I couldn't believe they actually paid people to do this.
I began work with a postdoc with Harvey Cantor on cellular immunology, and I brought molecular biology and gene cloning to the lab. And that let us identify the molecules really involved in the immune response.
In the mid-1980s, I chose to take a year off between residency and fellowship to dive into the NK and T-cell research areas that were beginning in renal cell carcinoma and malignant melanoma. Although the technologies available at the time are now for the most part antiquated, this experience solidified my passion to pursue a career in cancer immunology.
Making the decision to pursue a career that would apply those to the field of cancer is clearly a critical decision I made, and one made with very little insight or knowledge or how difficult that field was going to become.
And, the main decisions in my career were to, study something that was interesting. And I got fascinated by bone marrow transplantation and the allogeneic therapy. As you recall, it was the first therapy to cure a chemotherapy refractory cancer, and it was done with an allogeneic immune effect from bone marrow donor T cells.
It's a particular honor to be among this group. So I'm thrilled, I'm delighted, and I think it's a wonderful idea for SITC to promote this kind of recognition.
Well, I'm very much honored to be a member, along with the distinguished scientists. You mentioned the name, all of them. I fully respect and appreciate their contribution.
It shows that the work that I've done over the years is being recognized and given the importance of recognition that it is due.
It's extremely gratifying to see that this field has reached some level of real prominence in cancer research. It's been very long in coming. And it's really quite satisfying to see that it's reached a level of importance that people that are really now quite interested in what immunology can do, both in terms of cancer induction and also in cancer treatment.
It's a great honor to be a foundational member of the Academy. I'm deeply not only honored by it, but take it as a inspiration to make more progress as the years go on. And so I think the foundation of this academy will highlight progress in the field, and I'm quite honored to be a part of it.
This is a great honor. I'd like to, I frequently say that, those of us who work in industry and in drug development, we're sort of, like the studio musicians on a famous record. You know the record, but you don't always know who's behind the music. And so it is an acknowledgement of the importance of our work, and it's obviously a great honor to be amongst that group of people that are also getting this award.
I think that being recognized by the group now, such as it is, that represents a validation, confirmation, and recognition of the field, and I'm proud to be a part of that, and along with my colleagues, to be recognized for contributions to that idea.
Yeah, first of all, it is a great honor. It's recognized by CC, which is now is become more and more important in the field. CC, I think I have been participating CC activity a long time ago. I was also board member for a few years. If we compare, let's say, 15, 20 years ago, very few people are interested in the field of immuno-oncology, or in that time called cancer immunotherapy. So the field now is more success, and there's a lot more, it's clearly expanding, become more important, and now immunotherapy become one of the major options in the cancer treatment.
I think it means a lot to have this type of recognition by an organization that really has been the torchbearer, if you will, for cancer immunotherapy since the beginning.
Being inducted into this academy is particularly meaningful because it recognizes my contributions early to the field at a time when successful cancer immunotherapy was more of a dream and less of a reality.
Seeing the field evolve to its current status and the organization SITC to evolve similarly from a very small group to now an enormous group with huge impact is really incredibly gratifying.
It's a great honor to be inducted into this class of Academy of Immuno-Oncology with SITC, and I want to give thanks to all my colleagues that many I've known over decades who joined me today.
When you told me the list of the 15 first inductees, it was really like you're listing my list of heroes. It's like being in the first group of the Baseball Hall of Fame, up there with Babe Ruth and Cy Young. It's just a tremendous honor to be among this group.